Bhavin and Hemi from Invitation Homes here. And so we're going to do a little presentation, and then afterwards open it up to some audience Q&A. So Bhavin, Hemi, I'll let you guys take it from here.
Thanks, David. Good morning, all. I trust the conference is going well and you're having a great time at Vegas. Let me talk a little bit about Invitation Homes and the company. So Invitation Home is a S&P 500 company. We're in single-family leasing business. It's a management company. Our mission is together for our resident make the home a house. And we operate in 18 different markets with 100,000 plus single-family homes to manage and maintain. One of our core values is to lead from the front for our resident, right? And Florida being one of the market, before I start into this presentation, I want to take a moment of somber note that our thoughts and prayers are with Florida. If you guys are from Florida or have friends and family, we have a lot of residents and our associates that in the midst of this hurricane season were they are in our minds and thoughts. Now, resident experience is very important and at the center for the company. So today we would like to discuss about how DBT is helping us to elevate that residence experience. So my name is, let me introduce myself. My name is Bhavin Mehta. I've been 20 plus years in technology, and last 10 years I'm helping an organization like Invitation Home to set up their data analytics practices and make them data savvy and data driven organization. About 4 years ago, I still remember that when I got this opportunity to start the data and analytics practice and Invitation Home from scratch, I thought finally the engineer is here and is gonna save the day for the company. So I still remember my first discussion with my boss CIO that, hey, if I get access to our data, I can run this algorithm and optimize everything. It will take us 6 to 8 top months to understand how many homes we have, what kind of lease and dumps we have, and what kind of residents they live in that houses, and how can we elevate this experience. She listened to me quietly, then a little bit smiled at it and said, Bhavin, it's not that easy, and it's not that, definitely not that fast. The data that you need to run your algorithm is just not there. So my dreams were crashed. Going back to these drawing board with business and drawing out this so-called residence experience journey that you see. So this flow is, we started with collaborating with business, and the key 3 main objective came out from that exercise is like the resident experience must be seamless, must be personalized, and it has to be better informed. Then we divided into macro stages, what I like to call is the 3 macro stages. The pre-leasing and move-in experience, or I like to call start with the warm welcome, because first impressions are very important. The middle phase is what we like to call leasing lifestyle experience or in-resident experience, but what I like to call is empower our associate to do what is right for the resident. And then there is the third phase, which is the move-out phase, or what I like to call is send with the fond farewell with invitation to return, right? And then within those 3 stages, we introduce this, what I call meaningful micro touch points with our residents. What that allows me and my team is to take those data points and then help elevate the resident experience in a meaningful way, where we can help our associates to focus on outcome over output and elevate the resident's experience. Now, we design and define this flow working with business. The next step is the strategy is designed, the implementation will start, but then how do you measure this strategy and pivot? Because the plan versus actual implementation is a little bit different. So for that, I'll hand it over to Hemi to talk about how we come up with what we call, how do we measure this program?
Thanks, Bhavin. My name is Hemchand Koch, and actually, Bhavin hired me actually as part of the data product team at Invitation Homes. So my journey was actually I had to go build all these KPIs actually for all the resident experience dashboards that were some of them were there, some were not present at that point. So overall, the resident experience actually KPIs are actually built around NPS. And a very important one is actually the overall experience rating, and actually then the reputation score, right? It actually follows through the journey of the resident, right? Right from that time, when we are doing pre-leasing, when we do move-in, and the in-resident experience, and actually all the move-out experience. And I can actually dig deeper into a couple of them, because actually I might be able to just talk about it for the entire day. If we dig deeper into all these KPIs, actually, I can talk about one related to the engagement score KPI, right? Engagement score, this is actually the KPI that we track when we are in the process of actually working with the prospect, right? So the questions that we ask actually is like, was the prospect provided enough homes actually that they can actually consider for leasing? That's one of the questions. And was the prospect actually provided information regarding the home that they are interested in, the full information, the leasing terms, how transparent we are with the actual pricing of that specific home, and also if the prospect actually is interested in actually visiting the home, how easy for them to actually schedule the showing of the home. So that's also something which we measure. And also generally, actually, our leasing agent actually really has to help the prospect actually to get to the stage where they actually start leasing, right? So all this actually is measured from different sources of data that we actually capture to actually build this specific KPI. And another one, actually, KPI that we are very much interested would be the maintenance experience. That's very, very important, actually, because this is the time when the resident is actually at home. And as you know, a lot of maintenance problems happen. Like, for instance, the HVAC might go out, they might have an appliance go out, or a lot of things can actually happen during the 2+ years a typical resident actually stays, right? So we actually track different things, like, for instance, how did we actually get that information? Did we actually get a call, or did they actually provide enough information for us to actually go create a ticket, right? And then we also have information actually about, how did the technology, the tech go out to the home, and if they're able to actually fix the issue within a day, or in the first visit, or it takes them multiple visits. And then also there is information that we actually capture regarding if there are any escalations that resident is making. So all this actually ties back into building that KPI that we actually finally say, okay, this is actually the maintenance experience KPI that we track for our resident. You can go to the next slide.
So now we have the strategy defined, the objectives laid out, and the KPIs to measure those strategy. Let's talk a little bit about challenges along the way, right? As our resident and today's digital world, right, they share these breadcrumbs of their journey through multiple devices, multiple data sources. And they all gives you what I call meaningful engagements and data points to elevate that. It is important for us as a technology to stitch those multiple data sources. Otherwise, what will happen is the information silos will come, the comprehensive details will be missed, and then along this data comes in different format, in different volume, velocity, which creates a challenge of complex transformation to make sure all the grains are at the right match before when you can stitch and you can see a comprehensive view. And then the data sometimes comes, they come in with wrong informations or missing information, which creates the data inconsistency along with the scale, right? And what does it do is, at the end of the day, with the resident experience, people no longer want to press 25 different buttons to talk to a human being. They don't want to be transferred over and over again, and definitely they don't want to be repeat themselves over and over again. So with these challenges in mind, if you stitch the data the right way and give your associate the comprehensive, accurate, and precise view, the loyalty score goes up, right? The biggest risk of loyalty is when you fail or disappoint them. And the first 4 bullets, the way we see them as a challenge and opportunity and solve that help us, enable us to increase our loyalty score. And Hemi, you would like to touch on the lineage and challenges on the data as a secondary function?
Yeah, so from a lineage perspective, right? So if we have a data quality issue and we are trying to actually investigate the root cause of the issue, if we don't have proper lineage, it would obviously impair proper and quick investigation and the resolution of the issue. And what it would lead out to is actually we have a longer data downtime, which we want to prevent, right? So that's actually the need that actually, that's actually one of the biggest challenges in terms of actually lack of lineage actually happens, right? And then also from a governance perspective also, so if the KPIs are not very well governed, you might end up with various dashboards showing different values for the same KPI, and because they are not actually, those dashboards are not being governed at all, right? So we don't want to be in a situation because then there is so much more confusion. People actually lose trust in data, and the business will actually not get any value out of these dashboards also. So that's why actually governance is very, very important when we actually have to have these KPIs, and we do that actually.
Thanks, Hemi. So, this is the slide where I'm, as an engineer, most proud of. This is the implementation. This is where rubber hits the road, right? I have so many names to call this slide, but I would like to call it my modern data kitchen slide. We human don't like to clean data. Any mundane work, we're not getting excited with that, like data processing, cleansing, prepping, and we definitely suck when it comes to scale, volume, and computation, right? But at the same time, if someone provides this information in right format and at the right time with easy to consumable pieces, then we human are so creative to handle the difficult situations and make the right decision. Right? So how with product like DBT and other modern data stack that you see in the slide, where we were able to upgrade our kitchen with what I call professional grade appliances. Okay? What it did for our chefs, that much needed right augmentation of intelligence. So they can have their undivided attention on trying new recipes, delivering the outcome to generate the impact, the positive impact. If DBT and other modern tech stack might not be there, as a chef, their attention will divide, in my opinion, is to like cleansing, prepping, mixing, transforming those ingredients, at the same time trying out new recipes, right? So this particular help with the modern tech stack and the workflow, we were able to elevate the right solution for our associates as well as for our resident, so they can operate with high confidence and elevate the residents' experience. And then, as I call this slide as my output slide, Hemi will walk us through the outcome that we have realized as part of this strategy and the implementation.
Okay. So we looked at actually the output, right? So let's talk about what were the realized outcomes actually out of it, right? So we have the business outcomes, which is from our perspective, the key ones are actually related to the net promoter score and the overall experience rating, right? So that we actually track as part of the various journey, right? In every part of the journey, we actually track that, and it's actually reported on, right? And from an outcome perspective, actually, our leadership team actually they review this on an ongoing basis. I think every couple of weeks or so, and they actually find out actually if there is some market is not performing as per plan or it's not tracking, they actually take steps. And we have additional dashboards that they can actually look into to provide more specific information about what is actually driving that reduction in a specific KPI. So we do that, and actually it has been really successful. And overall also actually our market teams are actually measured in terms of actually how they are actually, are they tracking to a certain target KPI in terms of NPS, OER, or the Google reviews, right? In the same vein, we also actually track the technology outcomes. And from in this case, actually the trust and data is there. Where actually the way that we actually track is actually one of our, most of those dashboards that we saw in the previous slides, actually those are top used dashboards. And it's just not by being used by the leadership, it's also all our market teams actually, they go and look into it. So, and we are actually very proud of that fact that they're actually using those dashboards, right? So it's actually the trust and data is there and it's being used. Speed to market, actually, this is also very keen, and actually this is where also DBT really helped. Sometimes there are changes to the surveys, and also there are some business process changes which actually happen time to time, and we can easily go change the DBT models and actually push the data to our curated data set, which can actually be used for building new dashboards or updating dashboards. And we do this very, very quickly, and this wasn't the case before, before we actually had this with DBT. And then the last one is actually resiliency, actually. So this is actually our number of incidents and the data downtime has actually gone down significantly after we actually have everything in DBT model. So we have the lineage, and I would actually even say our reduction is like almost like 99%. Before this, we used to have like 3, 4, 5 incidents actually every month where we had issues managing something else happening and some KPI dashboard was not working, but we don't ever see that actually at all. So actually that's the end of our presentation and start of our Q&A. So.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you. I've got a couple of questions, and then want to also open it up to the audience. But this presentation was really focused on a single use case, really the resident dashboard experience. But I know you're doing a lot more with DBT at Invitation Homes. Can you say a little bit more about other ways that your business is using DBT?
Yeah, actually one of the other big initiative that we started out, actually, that's when actually Bhavin joined Invitation Homes, was actually we had a big financial enterprise data warehouse actually, which was driving all the financial reporting that that is being used. So that was on SQL Server, and we had enormous lot of problems actually managing and maintaining it. So we went through a process of actually moving everything into Snowflake with 100+ facts and dimension tables, and we also have, I think we have more than 100 DBT models, actually changed all those, we moved all those, migrated all those stored procedures into DBT models, actually driving that into Snowflake. So, and it was we actually were able to keep the timeline also, actually. If we had promised actually the first quarter of 2024 to get all that done, and we actually met that. And also again, the amount of issues that we see compared with where we were with SQL Server is actually much lesser, and and also our team is also able to easily identify issues to with access to lineage and other data quality tools that we have actually implemented. We are able to actually better respond to any issues and solve them too. So.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. So based upon the success of that program, now finance and accounting team have reached out recently to make the Snowflake and DBT a SOX compliance tool, so they can move further more downstream accounting, FPQNA, budget, and other processes into Snowflake and DBT environment, so they can leverage the scale, the speed, the performance, and the resiliency. So that's an direct impact on the program. And when your customer comes back to you and say, "Hey, I need more," I think that's a proud moment for the team to take on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about that a little bit more because, right, we're all working in data, and sometimes we don't. We feel a little disconnected from the business team, and we're there seeing the value. So can you talk a little bit about, when you have those moments where you clearly see what you're driving for the business? Like, how do you think about success and how you measure that at Invitation Homes for your team?
We go through initiatives that we work with our business, and actually each our initiatives, actually we have clear outcomes actually that are well defined before we even pick up a new initiative that we want to work on. So we go through that, and then we actually come up with these are actually all the key outcomes that we are looking for, and we have that alignment with the business before we start actually even prioritizing any initiative. So, and then we also actually go in terms of the value that is being created too. So we have to create a value score and use the value score to actually higher prioritize initiatives that we actually typically take as part of any work that we do as an enterprise data team. So that's actually one of the process that we follow, and it has actually really helped us. So, and also it actually helps us where we are able to talk about those outcomes before we actually start an initiative or a project, so it makes it that much more easier. So.
Yeah, and another thing that as we started this program, we call it Data Digital Experience Program at Invitation Home. One of the KPI that we measure is data wrangling for each vertical business units, from investment group to finance to marketing. And every quarter we track that. We go back, survey business, and find out the data wrangling that shadow technology within business doing, like cleansing of the data. Our goal is to make them further move towards the right, where they can serve the data versus ingest the data. And I think that KPI also is one way to measure the success about this program and the effort.
Right. It's all about planning and getting ahead of this, right? Getting alignment early, so we're all marching towards the same outcome. We know what success is going to look like on the other end. So let's go achieve that together, right? And so you get this partnership that started early on, where you kind of agree on what the outcome should be.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah. So last question for me, and I definitely want to open up to the audience. But yesterday we heard a lot of product announcements, right? You've been DBT users for a while. What are some of the things that you heard on stage that you saw that are exciting to you, and you're thinking about how you might incorporate those into your processes?
Yeah, I think the product teams, the maturity cycle that we saw, I think we're impressed, right? The iceberg implementation is best way to join disjointed data sources without a lot of heavy lifting. The budget of technology and whatnot can go down if you utilize those features right way. But even before yesterday, right, when we were talking with Drew, he mentioned about the semantic layer, right? And we were ready to go with at scale, and we paused that, right? Because we believe in if we believe in DBT, we're committed to it, and if the features are available. So semantic layer is another same thing, right? Like, I believe in this kitchen, and how do I modernize this kitchen so that way business can focus on outcome and impact. And semantic layer can get us on financial KPI, drill down, getting the answer fast, having the same common kumbaya between business and technology. It helps them. SQL is there, which is DBT is, right? That helps business to understand the models. But let's say if we take another layer more and talk business language and KPI with semantic layer, that's the next step that we would like to scratch the surface and start. So.
And also, I think the other one would be obviously the DBT Copilot. So I think we are very much interested in actually improving the efficiency of our developers. So I think the DBT Copilot, that'll be something that we'll be looking into.
Yeah, I heard you say earlier, no one likes doing data prep, right? And so if anything that we can do to help you speed that process up, or take away some of the manual work there, and I think that's what Copilots should be doing. Love to take questions from the audience. I'll come down and hand you a microphone if you've got questions. All right.
I was wondering if you use dbt Cloud exclusively or a combination of dbt Core and Cloud, and what led to that decision?
Yeah, no, I think we're dbt Cloud only.
And what led to using that over dbt Core?
I think part of the promises between technology is cloud agnostic and cloud forward company. So all our data stack we started because we burned with the SQL as he was mentioning, MSBI stack, SSIS. Business was burned, so there was support, and that's how we started. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we wanted to be totally be cloud native in terms of our data stack. Actually, that was actually one of the reasons that we are totally on dbt Cloud. So.
Great.
Hi there. I'm wondering if you have high alignment on your tech stacks across your different groups. So it sounds like you both work in your ResX area. And so let's take, for example, like your acquisitions area, the ones who are dealing with the MLS listings and purchasing homes. Are they using a similar tech stack to you? Or are you kind of in different siloed teams where you're all doing your own thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, and I think I'm sorry if it didn't. So this is an enterprise group. So what that kitchen is used by every chef from the vertical. So this is the kitchen.
Okay.
Yes. Previously there was information silos, but then that created a problem. Like I can't use financial KPI, or I won't let you use my data, right? So we had to go through those discussion points and data for all and access for all, and so that's where this what she'll call enterprise kitchen came into.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi guys, my name is Tale. I'm with Zenlytic. Thank you for the talk. You guys spoke about the adoption of like the wide adoption of dashboards by your non-technical financial users, and you also spoke about how you talk to them to design all your key KPIs, and I think that's very important because I think like the consumption is equally as important as the ETL part of the process, because if people don't care about the data, then there is no real like purpose of actually doing all this data storage and cleaning and everything. And then you talked about like the additional dashboards that you've built out to answer more specific questions. But I guess you can never predict all the ways in which your end users will interact with your data. So how are you dealing with ad hoc questions that non-technical users have on daily basis, and like offloading them off your data analysts in order for them to allow like to use their time on like more productive tasks? Thank you.
So as part of that breaking down silos, we also created what called data democratization or shadow IT. So each business group has this called power user, and they have access to the entire data lake and Snowflake and world of DBT models. So those ad hoc queries is been driven those kind of answers from that data lake. Right? So, but you're right, a lot of questions will come that might not make it to the KPI that executives or watermark KPI. You want to let them play in the playground, which is the data lake where they come and do the hypothesis. And if that KPI becomes an enterprise level, then you can bring it too. So there are few venues, but mostly power user at every business unit have access to those kind of raw data. If that, yeah.
And also actually we are looking at some kind, maybe in the future, have a kind of a tool which is more actually analytics driven rather than actually just dashboard driven too. So which would actually help them too. So.
You mentioned data lineage being a challenge. Has DBT been able to completely solve that for you? Do you still have blind spots in the data lineage?
We also use Atlan too, so it's actually a mix of both Atlan and also DBT. So I think DBT is more data engineer driven when they're actually building a model or they're actually troubleshooting a specific model. But for our business users, we have actually provided them with Atlan, which goes all the way from Tableau all the way to our S3, so and to our API. So you can see the full lineage in Atlan. So.
Yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
We have time for probably one more question after this one.
Sorry if this covered because we missed like first few minutes of the session, but what were some of the pains that you faced when moving to DBT? Because it's a totally change of mindset coming from SSIS or like moving from Informatica. what were some of the pains, which like I see in like the PR, the CI checks, etc. So how do you like some of those pains that you saw, and how did you kind of address them?
I mean, pains were there, like cube, SSAS cube, right? MDX queries. How do you convert? It takes time, it takes passion, it takes focus. And I think, but the commitment was there, right? Like, because the cube, the SSIS was on-premise, was failing every day. You can't vertically scale too much. How do you, so there were those fueling fire that helped to deliver this. And it wasn't an easy task. So yeah, we ran into challenges, but the commitment was there, and then there was a need.
And also, I think from our developers also actually, we knew that they had to actually get, comfortable with DBT. So we were cognizant of the fact and actually providing them with enough time to actually scale up. And that actually helped us actually earlier, so that actually after a certain period of time, actually they became a lot more, it became much more easier for them to actually use DBT. So that also actually, so that was actually basically our strategy actually. So.
And I recommend, if you see the first slide of the flow, right, breaking down and start small and build on that momentum, that also helps sometimes. So like, okay, take MDX query, but there are 10,000. So okay, how do I break it down by that business vertical or next layer, and then take first 10, see the results, learn from it, and adapt. And so that also brings that momentum and energy back. And as a developer, they always want to play with shiny tool, trust me. So that helps too.
All right, we have one last question.
Hi, yeah, thanks for the talk, you guys. This was great. I have a question. I'm coming from the marketing perspective, and I had a question on how you guys think about your lifecycle model. I saw that you guys were using things like Google reviews to help monitor that KPI, and just I guess my thought on it was that what I might give a 5, other people might give a 2, so it felt like that could be subjective in some way. I was wondering if you guys had thought about that at all, or if you haven't. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's actually a very good question actually. So we take that and actually we average it out, and so that's actually part of the KPI calculation. So we understand that there would be actually sometimes, if there is an outlier, actually we take it out, and it's part of how we actually build the KPI. So totally.
And survey data is not the only one. So we also capture those breadcrumbs, right? Like, hey, call happened. Let's listen to the call. Right? We use Ring Central. So listen to the call, understand the sentiments, and do something with that data along with that survey. Right? Your work order came, hey, my toilet is not working. What happened? The responsiveness, how soon the work order was closed versus that rating on the survey. And then try to stitch them together to understand, and then apply weightage, as Hemi said, to get to that bottom of it. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's subjective still, but better.
Awesome. Yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
Perfect. I think that's all the time we have. Bob and Hemi, I assume you can stay in the room for a few more minutes and answer questions if anybody has any additional ones. But thank you all for your time today.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thanks.